Well, first day I got kicked out.
You know, my agent called and said, "Hey, Cubs just selected you." I was like, "Yeah, I just saw it." So we used to have to look on the internet.
Yeah. We never seen a paper nail. I didn't know if it was nails in it or not. You know,
Got me chills with that. Wow. What?
Did you even think you were going to make the team?
No.
Jersey doesn't really fit me. There's no name on my jersey.
Hi again, everybody. I'm Dan Horde. Welcome to the Let's Rain podcast, presented by the refreshingly crisp Cincy Light and Cincy Light Lime, Cincinnati's light beers. We've got a football episode coming up on this edition of the pod. I'll be speaking to the general manager of the UC football program. Yes, that title exists. His name is Zach Grant, and I think you're really going to be interested by what he has to say about how Cincinnati has built its football roster this year. Then we're going to be talking about the game day experience at Nippert Stadium, 7 home games on the schedule this year. I'll be joined by Athletic Director John Cunningham and Gary Gornowicz, who is the general manager of Sodexo Live. Don't forget, you should like and subscribe to the Let's Rain podcast for the latest on your UC Bearcats. The University of Cincinnati Online keeps learners in the game, balancing work, family, and everything life throws their way. At the University of Cincinnati, online learning isn't just about earning a degree. It's about transforming how you learn, lead, and make an impact. So join the legacy. Explore what it means to be a Bearcat at online.uc.edu. First guest is General Grant, the general manager of the UC football program, Zach Grant. Zach, I've been very impressed by this year's transfer class based on spring football and the fall training camp. Did you mostly address needs, or is it like the NFL draft where you take the best player available if you can get them?
It's a great question. Mostly we started at a needs-based approach, but we'll always take the best player if they're out there, especially on the lines of scrimmage. Goal number one in our program is to retain the best players we can and the ones we identify that are going to be integral parts of the next team. So we were able to do that, we thought, which led to only a few holes really to fill and some pieces to go after. And we took an approach to, be aggressive in those areas. And I felt like we accomplished that. And then as the spring portal came around, we kind of looked at who was out there, looked at the landscape, and felt like we had some room to operate and add some extra pieces as cherries on top, so to speak. So
thousands of players enter the portal every year. By and large, it seems like you've been able to retain the guys that you wanted to retain the most. Certainly, Sorsby, Royer, Corleone, etc. this year. How have you done that? What's been the key to holding on to the guys you deem most important?
Yeah, it all starts with the head coach. Coach Satterfield creates an environment with our players where they want to show up to the building every day. And I think we've self-selected the right players over the last 2 to 3 years where they fit our culture. And, Coach does a great job being the same person every single day. The players know exactly what they're going to get. They want to show up. They want to work hard. And then it goes down to the assistant coaches as well. Through his leadership in the staff, the assistants portray the same message to the players. And the huge piece as well, Nico Palizzetti, our head strength coach, is adored by basically everybody that ever meets him. And he plays a key role as well. But obviously it starts with the head coach. And I think we have enough hooks in the players. And when I say hooks, I mean, there's enough reasons that they want to stay. They're looking for why should I stay? And it ultimately becomes, there's no reason to leave. So we don't have to get into a bidding war most of the time. We get to a number that's agreeable for these guys in the revenue share era, and we're able to keep them. And it all, starts from the top, and our assistants do an incredible job with true, real relationships. It starts in recruiting. We fulfill the promises that we make in recruiting. Like, what you see is what you get. When they get here, they feel like they haven't been lied to. Nothing's been disingenuous. And we're just real with them from the moment we start that relationship, and it continues in the retention piece.
I'm glad you brought up Nico Palizzetti because I feel like every newcomer, new transfer that you brought in this year that I've had the opportunity to talk to mentions him as a big reason why they chose Cincinnati. Is he a weapon, essentially?
He really is.
Wars?
He really is. It's like nothing I've ever been around. Typically, you utilize the strength coach very little in recruiting. They're so focused on the team, and Nico is too, but he's such a dynamic personality that I think we would be stupid not to use him within the recruiting process. So it's built into our visits. They'll always meet with him. Nico will go out to dinner with guys sometimes. I've never seen that in a strength coach before. And, he'll offer his cell phone to the guys after he's met with them. And more often than not, he's reaching back out to them after the visit to continuously show that there's that connection. And when you have a guy that is as impressive as him, and nobody else around the country who's in his shoes as a head strength coach is really doing what he's doing in the recruiting process, it really goes a long way. And especially with transfers who have been at a program before, they've seen how it runs. Everything's 90% similar program to program in college football. So they know they're going to spend so much time with a strength coach. And for him to be as impressive of a person as he is and care about them, they see how genuine he is. It does go a long way.
You've had 2 seasons in the Big 12. After year 1, it felt like there was a need to address size. And after year 2, it feels like you loaded up on speed. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I don't think we went into it intentionally saying year 1, we're going to do this, year 2, we're going to do this. We felt like after evaluating our roster in the spring of 23 and then during the season in 23, we're looking across. And I remember thinking when we played Iowa State, like, that's a good-looking football team, and there's no reason that Cincinnati shouldn't look better than them across the field. So it kind of stood out big time to me that we needed more size. And then, as we're building the foundation of the team through that first year, we were trying to get building blocks. Like, who are going to be some pillars to this roster who are just really good players? Let's collect as many as we possibly can. We felt like we really had a rebuilding project to do. So we tried to build the foundation of the house, so to speak. And after last season, we were able to at least have a good foundation, and then we could go out and identify some more, keen needs, more direct needs where, hey, we need playmakers, we need speed. Let's go get that. Whereas the foundation's pretty much built, and there are holes that are obvious to everybody that watches it, but everything's not a hole anymore. So we can kind of allocate our resources in certain ways to attack that. And speed became one of them. We're always looking for fast players. But when you're looking
Fast is better than slow.
When you're looking for playmakers, usually those guys are pretty fast. So
you and your staff are ultimately trying to get the best players that you can. But how much of your job is being a capologist, essentially managing the NIL dollars?
Yeah, probably 50% of my job, I'd say. If not a little more. Ultimately, I have to spend enough time also evaluating the recruits, both in the high school recruiting and the portal, to confidently say we're going to spend this amount of dollar on a player. So a lot of the time is spent evaluating them and valuing them, and then kind of judging the relationship we have, what their recruiting process is. But certainly when we're putting everything in buckets to manage the salary cap, I do have to play capologist, so to speak, which is a new and exciting part of my job. And going back to your first question, it's a heck of a lot easier to do that when the players don't have a reason to leave. And that is a testament to our coaches and the relationships they build with the guys. It makes that part of the job a heck of a lot easier.
You're never going to have as much money to spend as some of your opponents in the Big 12. So what's the key for Cincinnati to be successful in this era?
Yeah, the key is to not be afraid to do things a little differently and to be ourselves. If we try to look at what other teams do all the time and we don't have the exact same resources that they have, then that's just going to lead to us not being successful relative to them. So we have to decide what is valuable to us. It might be a little different than other teams, and stay true to that. And always remember that it doesn't always have to be 100% about the money. As long as our coaches are continuing to do what they have been, which is build incredible relationships, meaningful relationships that are long-lasting, the players are going to see the long-term benefit of staying here more than a quick dollar. And of course, we will use all the resources we've been given and the resources we fundraise through a great fan base to get in the ballpark enough that we need to be competitive in the revenue share and NIL landscape. But we just need to stay true to who we are. And I feel like Cincinnati from the beginning has always been an incredibly tough, nasty, gritty football team. And Nico says it all the time. We have to be the hardest working, most disciplined, and most connected team that we can possibly be. Well, if we're not recruiting to that, then we're just getting a bunch of players in who don't fit how we run our program. So we're going to stay true to that with, getting players that are very talented with length, growth potential, and explosiveness. That is our model of the program, those 6 pillars.
Let's talk about your quarterback. The Athletic fairly recently came out with a ranking 1 to 136 of the projected starting quarterbacks in college football. Sorsby came out number 20. What did you see in Brendan when he was at Indiana? And what's the key for him to take another step this year?
Yeah, at Indiana, we saw a player that elevated the team when he went in the game. He started, I think, 6 or 7 games there, and we felt like the games that he was in and playing, the entire team played better. He played better, than the others. And, you could kind of tell from the tape that he had some intangibles and moxie and toughness. And come to find out, he was playing through an AC joint sprain that year. We look for toughness at that position, both mental and physical, and it takes that to play through that. And, obviously the physical gifts he has, I think he has almost nearly a perfect throwing release in terms of his mechanics from the ground up. He's an easy thrower of the football, accurate, mobile. For him to take the next step, it is truly owning the football team. Like last year, he was a first-year starter for us. It felt like he always had those leadership qualities, and he has started to show this in the offseason, but it's truly taking control and being the guy. And you know that when you see it with a quarterback. He's starting to do that. We've been fortunate to get weapons around him now, and he played a big part in recruiting those guys. And he's taking ownership of it, and I feel like he holds our entire future in his hands as a starting quarterback, and he has the type of mentality where he not only understands that, but he likes it.
I know you've gotten this question a lot over the years. I've heard you asked this question before, but I wonder if the answer changes from year to year. What's the balance? What's the ideal balance between high school recruits and transfers in any given year?
Yeah, it's a hard question to put an exact percentage on. We've always said we want it to be 60-40 or 70-30 or in favor of high school. The way we now attack it with the forever changing landscape is we are going to sign a full high school class every year. So we'll start there. If you think about how recruiting works in the never-ending wheel of the calendar, the 2026 recruits largely are deciding the summer that we just had. So before we've played a season and before any of our players have decided to come back, before any players have gone in the portal. So they're really the first people claiming rights to the roster in 2026. If we were to not focus on high school recruiting, we would sign a small high school class. Instead, we're going to try to sign a full high school class every year. By that, I mean 11 and 11 on both sides of the ball, roughly 22 players. It doesn't always work out like that based on, hey, there's an undeniable safety. This year, we're going to take an extra one. We might take one less the next year. But by and large, we'll sign a full class every year and then retain our players. And what's left, both in the amount of scholarships we have left, what's left in the salary cap, and what holes we have that need to be addressed in the roster, that'll determine how we use the portal. I never want to say we won't use it because we need to attack every possible avenue that we can to acquire the best players we can. I don't think it would be very smart not to take advantage of every avenue to acquire players.
It feels like for as long as I've been around college sports, coaches and recruiting folks have said that the key is relationship building. Is that still the case? Because nowadays, some of these relationships come about very quickly.
I think it's still the case, and possibly more than ever now, honestly. I don't think we would be able to survive if we had to make every recruitment transactionary. Like, we need to make it so that our relationships are so much better than everybody else's that the players are saying, you know what, I'm going there. They just need to make it right, versus I'll go there if they double the money, or I'll stay if they double it. So while everyone may think, college football is becoming more transactionary, like, the way we gain an advantage is to flip that on its head. And I think coaching is even more important now, even though people are turning over and people say, well, I hear this all the time, you may coach a player for 2 years and then the team they transfer to gets the result of the player. Well, if you think about it the other way, like, we may get a transfer who comes in here for 1 season, and it takes a really, really good coach to get him integrated in our system, playing the right way. And last year, Jared Bartlett was a perfect example. The old defensive staff, truly, before Coach Veit got here, recruited Bartlett. Well, he gets here, we recruited him to play dog, which was like our hybrid edge rusher. Well, Coach Veit comes in and he runs the drastically different system. 3-3-5, we do not have that position, period. So Bartlett played Mike linebacker. If Coach Braswell wasn't such a good coach to be able to get him up to speed playing off-the-ball linebacker in his first year, Bartlett would have been kind of a waste to take him. Instead, credit to JB and to Coach Braswell that, we were able to coach him up the right way, and he had a tremendous season for us. So sometimes I think all the perceptions of the things that are changing and are not important. Like, you almost double down on the things that really are now.
How important are analytics in recruiting players and evaluating players?
It's important. Analytics is a broad term. So, 10 years ago, track times might have been analytics. Right now, there's a lot of speed data based on like all 22 tracking data on the field. So, hey, we're a company that can provide data on all players at the same time, and they're going to grade them out on different characteristics. We feel like in a world where all 136 or whatever teams use that, what's the advantage of using it if everyone's going to look at the same thing, right? We're going to use it as a data point, and ultimately the film is going to decide based on our evaluation and the assistant coach's evaluation and Coach Sat's evaluation how much we like a guy. But we will certainly use all resources that we can as data points within the process to try to get, like, we're trying to get outliers out and find the right players at the right time. And, I'll use a good analytics example. Caleb Goody, when we were evaluating him last season, stood out on multiple different analytic companies as one of the fastest receivers in the country. And I have a little love-hate relationship sometimes with these services, not only for the amount they try to charge us, but for the fact that, like, how are you sure that mile per hour number is right? Like, because when I was at Western Kentucky, our catapult system was called a different company, and the numbers were apples to oranges. So you can't compare it sometimes. So I'm like kind of questioning it. Well, if he has the fastest miles an hour or one of the top 5 in the country on multiple different programs we use, it stands to reason he's really fast relative to his peers.
How do you determine if a person will fit in with the Cincinnati culture?
Great question. First, we have our players get around them as much as we can, both in high school and their OV weekend. There'll be a player host for both nights. And in the portal, usually the guys are here for one night on the visit, which makes it a little more difficult. But our guys will usually have some of the team leaders around them at dinner, and we'll really lean into what they think about the guys. one thing that we've done since we got here is we try to evaluate character on tape. As weird as that sounds, but the football character somebody has based on how hard they're playing through the echo of the whistle, the effort and intensity and passion they're playing with, regardless of what they like to do when they go home, if they're doing that on the field, that means something to us. And that means football is important to them. And we can deal with the other stuff only because our culture is so good that guys will come into it. And put it this way, if you're going to college and you're around 100 of your peers that party every night, you're probably going to go party. If you're around 100 of your peers where if they're just going to go study, you'd be the only person not studying. So you're going to do that. So if you have a locker room like we have, as long as they play really hard on tape, I rest pretty easy knowing that I think we're going to get the right type of kid here. And then we also look at their transcript. And, in high school, we're going to look at some tardies and absences, see if they're accountable in those ways. The trend of their grades over time. We use the transcript less as an eligibility thing, more as an evaluation thing. And then in high school, when you're building a relationship over the course of a year with somebody and talking to them about football, non-football life in general, you get a pretty good idea of their personality. And the last and final thing, when money is involved, it separates the people who are the right types and the wrong types pretty quickly based on the way they handle those types of things. So I feel like now more than ever, you have more resources to figure out if you can recruit your own problems if you want, but we're going to recruit the right types of kids.
A couple of transfers who have been really impressive to me are making the jump up to tougher competition. Matthew McDoom, cornerback, fastest guy on the roster, played at Coastal Carolina. Jeff Caldwell, wide receiver, played at Lindenwood University. He's looked excellent at practice. How important is it at Cincinnati to identify guys like that?
I think it's crucial. From what we have seen, less schools maybe are willing to just jump all in at the guys based on their level of competition. We task Jack Griffith with scouting those lower levels, and he does a fantastic job, whether it's, Matthew McDoom and Jeff Caldwell or Isaiah Johnson, who, we had a player go in the portal after the spring, and we had Isaiah up here like 2 or 3 days later. He's wearing the same number, and he looks like just a better version of that same player. So when you have a player like Isaiah who played like 100 to 250 or whatever snaps at Western Carolina, and we're able to identify that guy as somebody who is a true freshman and has a bright future, that's where we can win on the margins a little bit in this revenue share world. But it's really a credit to those players who come in with the right mentality and they're self-aware enough to understand that there are still things to get better at. And to compete at this level, they have to utilize all the time and resources between getting here and the season to become the best versions of themselves. And those guys really do it. And I believe football is football. Like, yes, FCS football might be a little bit worse competition than what we're playing here in the Big 12. But there are players they play against in certain times during that season that are going to be in the Big 12 this season, or the SEC, Big 10, ACC, what have you. And so when we're watching them in those key moments against those players, they might as well be in a Big 12 game if Jeff Caldwell is getting covered by a player that's going to play in our conference next year. And what stuck out for McDoom was when he matched up with some of those players in the Sun Belt that we had identified as some of the best receivers in the country, he shut them down. So we're like, all right, well, it doesn't matter who he's going against. The traits that we saw have transferred to when he's playing the better players. So
the football program has moved into a new facility, the $134 million Shakely Indoor Practice Facility and Performance Center. Has it already made a difference in recruiting?
It's starting to. Yeah, I feel like in our official visits we had in June, the wow factor from the recruits was palpable. And a lot of those guys, all of them actually, had already come on an unofficial visit. They had seen the prior facility and they had been around. So they were able to see the jump in, performance and nutrition and the training room and all the resources for the players, that they were really able to kind of open their eyes and go, wow. And then the 27s that we're really starting on now, it's been extremely receptive, and when they talk to our players, they can hear it in our players' voices about how great it is to be in there day to day. And Coach Satterfield would tell the group, forget where he saw it, but it was Dallas Cowboys player that said he spends I don't know what it was, $500,000 in off season in, rehab and personal performance equipment and different things. And it's every modality he was talking about, we have in that building for the guys. So it's we're investing in you in so many ways, and you can see it in that facility.
The Cincinnati Bengals use their coaching staff in evaluating prospects for the draft, probably more than any other NFL team. How does that work here? Do you and the scouting staff evaluate players and then alert the coaches to the guys you like the most? Or are they looking at a bunch of guys and contributing their opinion to who you should pursue?
Yeah, so it's our job as the scouting staff to be the first line of defense, so to speak, the first line in the evaluation. So our intern group will cut up basically every single player on junior tape who has, any FCS or better offer within basically the entire eastern part of the United States. From there, Carter Wilson, who is our assistant GM and he runs our high school evaluations, is going to evaluate those guys and sift through it. And this process happens on a day-to-day basis throughout the entire calendar for multiple classes, right? But so once we identify a guy that we like, they have the baseline traits we look for: length, growth potential, explosiveness, and we feel like the tape and the skill set is there or growing. During the season, and in the off season, it's a similar but different schedule. We will show the offensive staff and the defensive staff each for 30 minutes on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So that's the coach's exposure when they're busy in the season. It's their exposure to be all right, let's watch these 5 guys. The cut up from us has been made to show what we have seen in a condensed form to them, and they're able to make, their evaluation. And we have a recruiting database that constantly will funnel the players up through Carter, myself, the assistant coaches, and when each level of it kind of approves it, we'll show the head coach and make sure Coach Satterfield is good and is on the same page as what we saw. And when there's ever a disagreement, it just takes good dialogue and, hey, what did you see? What did I see? What is important for us at that position? What can we can't live without? And what do we need? So they play a big role in it. I feel like our scouting staff has done a really, really good job of taking a lot of it off their plate. So where they're not watching a whole bunch of guys they don't need to. With so much that they need to do and acclimating new players that we get in the portal, the changing of the rosters, the coaches have more than ever on their hands. So they don't need to be going mining for players. We'll do that job for them. And if the process is running right, we're going to have a high hit rate of the guys we like going to them. They also like them, and we're all steam ahead with that particular player.
You've been in this world for about a decade at a few different stops. Is it completely different from what you started out doing?
In some ways, it's completely different. Obviously, the NIL and revenue share didn't exist, but in a lot of the ways, it's very similar. I think to be successful, as everything is changing so much, you have to go back to the core tenets of how do you evaluate a player? How do you identify them? How do you evaluate them? What are the traits we need that are going to be successful? And how do we get them? Those were the same questions 10 years ago. There's different solutions to that now, but the world hasn't blown up. It's still the same core questions on how to build it. So as much as changed, a lot of the things we hold true have stayed. It just different things crossed my desk than did before.
Zach, this has been really enjoyable and informative. Appreciate the hard work you and your staff put into trying to build the best roster you can possibly build, and we're really excited about the season getting underway in about a week. Thanks so much.
Thank you. It was great talking to you.
Up next on this episode of the Let's Rain podcast, presented by Cincy Light, Athletic Director John Cunningham and Gary Gornowicz, who is the GM of Sodexo Live. Gary's with us to talk about the game day experience at Nippert Stadium. Before we get to that, we're about a week away from a tremendous season opener, very exciting prospect for the UC Bearcats versus Nebraska at Arrowhead Stadium on a Thursday night on national TV. For folks that don't know how this game came about, how did Nebraska wind up on the schedule, and how did the game wind up at Arrowhead?
It's a windy road, and it goes well back even before I started in 2019. The game was originally a home and home scheduled way out, as they typically are, and then we had the COVID year, so we were supposed to go to Lincoln during the COVID year. And if you remember, at that time, the Big Ten wasn't going to play football at all, and then ended up not playing their non-conference games. So they just had a conference schedule, so that game didn't happen. And then it became kind of a back and forth discussion with Nebraska about what this looked like. And the agreement was we would take this first one and play a neutral site, and then we would have a game back in Lincoln on the out years. And so we wanted to, if we were going to do that, we wanted to make sure we had 7 home games. And that was the big thing for us, is we're not going to do a neutral site unless we have 7. So we had 7 home games. So we thought we can go play a neutral site. It then went to Indianapolis for a time. We had an agreement, and Arrowhead came knocking and said, we'll buy you out of that agreement, take you to Arrowhead, and pay you a lot more money. And, you know, this day and age, it's important that we maximize our revenue, and it made sense. And obviously the Travis Kelce connection and just kind of everything kind of came together for us to go do that. And so we're going to go play this in Arrowhead and be, you know, on national TV, the only game in town at the late game. You know, I think there's one game before us, and then we kick it off there that Thursday and get to play Nebraska.
It reminds me a lot of when Cincinnati opened the season at the Rose Bowl against UCLA. It turned out to be Desmond Ritter's first game, came off the bench in the third series, led Cincinnati to a win, and the Bearcats were off and running for 4 tremendous seasons in a row.
It can, you know, you play these really tough opponents to kick off a year, and it's always a good litmus test right out of the gate. And it's going to be a great crowd. It's going to be a lot of fun. And again, you always want to be that game that's on, that's the only game in town, only game on TV across the country, and that'll be a lot of fun.
So as you mentioned, the football program has 7 home games at Nippert Stadium this year. We're going to get to some of the stadium improvements with Gary in just a moment, but I just want to quickly touch on game times. The first 2 home games are at 3:30. I know you'd love to have some night games if you can. Maybe try to cut down on the noon games. You had so many noon games last year. How much say, if any, do you have over game time?
You don't have a lot to say. Certainly television dictates most game times, and it's why we don't even know the game time a lot of times, you know, until a few weeks before the game, or sometimes you're in this 10-day window and you don't know until 10 days before. So it's a challenge. It's kind of the way these things work out, and you know, we get a large check from television, and they need to maximize their exposure, and so they need a little bit of wiggle room to set game times, and so that's typically how it goes. That being said, what you're really looking for, and what we didn't get last year, and what I'm hoping for this year, is you want to mix. For us, you want to mix. You want maybe a noon game, couple 3:30 games, which is a really good time for us, and then you want a night game or 2. That's the perfect mix within a season, and so that's what we're always hoping for. Sometimes it works out that way, and sometimes it doesn't.
All right, let's get into the game day experience at Nippert Stadium. You're always trying to evolve and improve. It's an old stadium. It's among the oldest in college football. I love it. Our fan base loves it. But how challenging is it to constantly try to improve the experience, considering some of the limitations of having an old building?
Yeah, I'll let Gary speak to it. And number one, before I kick it over to him, I just want to say he's the best general manager of a concessionaire I've ever had in my time. I've been in college athletics for 20 years now, and just being around it, everybody in this building knows Gary. And that says a lot about who he is and how much he cares about what he does. He does it at such a high level, and he cares so much. It's infectious. So I'm really happy to have him on board with Sodexo Live, and he was previously with us with our other concessionaire, and we were able to keep him and bring him over and have him running the show. Makes a huge difference for our game day experience. But that being said, it is an older stadium, and it does create some issues, and it certainly creates issues with food prep and some of those things. So I'll shift it over to Gary to talk specifically about that.
Well, it's pretty interesting. I think that since we have such a beautiful stadium, an iconic stadium, it gives us the opportunity to give some really great and unique experiences that you can't get anywhere in Cincinnati. And I love the fact that our fans mostly are our graduates, right? And so you can live your graduation, you can live your college experience here at a football game, and be emotionally attached. And when I talk to the fan, that's where I get the ideas of what we should have. They are free to give them out, and they like to give them out. And I was talking to some alumni, and they were telling me about the old days, right? Where the old days is before 2000, before the modern TUC building that you see. They used to have the Rhine Room, where in the 1960s, they created this nostalgic food hall for the students. And we talked about the Rhine Room and getting cheap Rolling Rock right there, and a draft beer and heading to class. And there used to be something called a Mr. Jim Steakhouse attached or right near the Rhine Room. And so I started putting all these ideas together and thought, wouldn't it be great if someone who graduated from the University of Cincinnati, who's been coming to a game, could relive that experience that they had while they went to college here. And so we took what we have now called the Catskeller, and we're converting that into the Rhine Room for our home football games. And so we'll have live music. We're trying to get a good Goo Goo Dolls cover band in there, and we got a couple of good ideas on that. And we'll have retail in there. We'll have a couple of really nice bars in there. We got some video games like you'd experience, like you see here in this podcast, to help people, figure out what they were doing in 1990 or 92 or 95. And it'd be great. So my thought is that a grandfather, grandmother can come to a game, bring their grandkids, or a parent and bring their children and say they're here at a game. Hey, I met your mom there, right? And this is where our life started. This is where your life started. You just can't buy that in professional sports, but you can buy that in a college. And Cincinnati owns the University of Cincinnati, right? There's no other college allowed south of Mason here. And so I love that. And I think so we created this sandwich as a homage to the Mr. Jim. It's going to be a great cold sandwich. It's going to have roast beef on it, a roasted pepper aioli, a little arugula. And it's fantastic. It tastes great. You can grab it from the bar, and you can take it to your seat if you need to. So that's something that we'll be doing. Also, we created something called the Nippert Market. The Nippert Market will be along the east side and allows us to partner with our local companies that do business and names that people recognize. And some of them are Donato's and Skyline and Milton's Donuts and some other great partners that we have also lined up for people. And it should be a good surprise. And in that market, we'll have we'll have some fan-friendly lemonade stands and we call it floss, but cotton candy, things that kids can enjoy, parents can enjoy. They can really live that sports experience. We'll have some grab and goes on the end of that where it'll be like a beer connoisseur's place to go. Hey, which one of those 50 beers do I want to drink while I'm watching this great event, right, in this iconic stadium, right? Most of the time will be Cincy Light. I know that, but
Cincy Light Lime is fine.
And Cincy Light Lime, we'll be rolling out Cincy Light Lime It has gotten great reviews from the people I've asked, and I can't wait to see how it sells. Probably be our number 2 seller right behind Cincy Light, and we'll also be doing some stuff on the Shakely lawn. We'll have a beer garden experience for families and engagement and picnic tables, and it's going to be great. I think it's going to be our best year ever, and we can build off of that in the future.
The Rhine Room, Nippert Markets, the Beer Hall,
Yeah.
the Shakely lawn.
Yeah.
How about the 513 stands?
Oh, the 513 stand. So the 513 stands is designed for the family in mind that don't want a huge portion of product. So we'll have things that cost $5, $3, and $1. Well, Gary, what can you buy for $1? Well, for a kid, he wants a ring pop or a Charms Flow pop or a candy necklace. He's going to be able to get that. We'll be able to have a child-sided hot dog, child-side soda. Not everything has to be super big. And then we're going to customize it for the family so that there's something for everybody. And you can come here once again to this great iconic place and live your life. And I hope that kid, when he comes here, says, this is where I want to go to school at. I want to be here where my dad went, my mom went, my grandparents and my great-grandparents, and maybe a few more, right? So,
John, tell us about the fan experience team.
Yeah, that started from a conversation I was having with Anthony DeFino, who runs our external units here, and we just started talking about the importance of not just thinking about the fan experience a few months or a few weeks before the start of the season, but let's think about it 365. Let's have somebody that's really their focus. We have marketing people, but let's take somebody from our marketing team and have them focus on that. And so we grabbed Sydney Shelton to be able to do that, and assigned her that role. And then we have a junior role underneath her. So we really have a team of 2 working with Anthony that they're just focused on the game day experience, football game day, basketball game day, soccer, volleyball. Just how can we obsess over our fans? That's the goal. That's what we're always trying to do. And so that's the group. And, we talked about trying to have a theme. They came up with something I really like, which is Saturdays with us. And I saw the email today. It said Saturdays is a verb, and I thought that was kind of a cool way to say it. But that just explains it. This is an awesome place. If you love football, if you love college football, you've got to come to Nippert and check it out. And you got to be a part of what we do and how we do it. I was at Wrigley this summer, and so we kind of talked about this idea. This is the Wrigley Field of college athletics, and let's really jump into this space and Saturday with us. Let's go have some fun. Let's have some Cincy Lights and let's have a good time.
Your career has probably taken you to most of the famous college football venues out there. What was your impression of Nippert before you got here, and what do you love about it now that you are here?
Yeah, honestly, my impression was the Linder Building and how unique that was with the triangle windows. That was my one. I'd never been to a game here, but I remember seeing that and watching Tony Pike play and others play, and not fully understanding what it is, which is it's dropped in the middle of campus. You don't fully understand that until you actually get here. And somebody described it this way, and I really liked it. They said it's almost like when you're driving on 71 and you make that turn and you see the city of Cincinnati. You almost have that same experience when you're driving on campus and you all see turn and there's this football stadium that just appears in the middle of this campus. You don't expect it. And so I thought that was a cool analogy, and that's what I think of when I come to a game here. We make it work. It's unique to us. It's not that big, but it's super loud. And I just go back to a couple of the ADs that have been here for the first time always find me during the game or after the game, and they say the same thing. They're like, "Wow, that was incredible. I had no idea it was that good," and that's how I feel about it. So we just have to make sure we don't take it for granted in this city, and those that come all the time to keep coming back and be a part of this thing. And then some people that live in the city that haven't been in Nippert or maybe haven't been here in a few years, come back. Let's remember what this thing can be if you haven't been here for a while.
Gary, you mentioned some of the local favorites that you make sure are available at Nippert Stadium. Do I understand correctly there has been a constant demand for more places to be able to get Skyline, and that you have increased the availability?
We have. I think what's key is we're going to have our own Skyline store in W2, which is underneath the West Pavilion and right next to TUC. It's going to be great. It's off the portables. It's in a real stand. We're going to be like a real Skyline. I cannot wait for that to happen. And then we'll have Skyline hopefully at 5 other locations that where you can buy Skyline at. I'm super excited about Skyline. People love it, and we love making it for them.
Tell me a little bit more about the beer hall on Shakely Lawn and the attempt to make that as much of a great place to hang out for up to 3 hours before the game, except for the noon games, which will be 2 hours.
Yeah, the fan deserves a place to hang out that's safe, fun, and reliable. And we're going to have that. We wanted a Ferris wheel. We're not sure we're going to get a Ferris wheel yet, but I doubt it. But we'll have inflatable games there for kids. We'll have the ring toss kind of stuff and the engagement things. I believe we're going to have some entertainment there, but we're going to have our city favorites of beer there as well. We're going to have an ice sausage stand right there. Plus we'll have some other local food trucks out there as well.
And a giant screen to watch.
And a giant screen. Absolutely. Right. That's part of the fan experience anymore is a giant screen. And this way you can slowly ingress, enjoy your day, and then go to the game casually. It'll be awesome.
And John, fans will be able to look in the other direction and see the new indoor facility, which obviously has the wow factor. The football team is in it now. Other athletes are using it. What response are you getting from coaches, staff, and players?
It's exactly what we wanted it to be, which is it's just become that hub, that everyday hub. And I'll start with all of our student athletes. I go to eat there a couple times a week up in the new nutrition center. And I'm so energized when I walk in there. The provost of the university and I sat down for a lunch, and it was just so much fun because we had different teams come in, different coaches come in, interact with the provost, interact with myself. It's just a chance to see everybody, and there's just a good vibe, good energy. So that's my immediate experience. But then also having a chance to walk different groups through it still. We're doing a lot of tours. We're working on making sure that we get our former football players through that building. We had 2 different groups of former football players. We're going to have something where every week or every couple of weeks we have an opportunity for former players to get through it. But donors and season ticket holders to see them see what it is, which is we just did it right. We didn't cut any corners. We did it big. We did it right. And it's exactly that for our entire department.
John, one of the biggest stories in sports or entertainment in the last week or two was Taylor Swift appearing on the Kelsey Brothers podcast. Can you talk about the impact the Kelsey Brothers are having on University of Cincinnati athletics?
Yeah, I talk to them and the people that work for them all the time about the fact that for us, just their presence around our program, their ability to talk about the Bearcats means everything to us, absolutely everything. And just cannot thank them enough for continuing to do that. I think they mentioned the Bear. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I think they mentioned the Bearcats when they had Taylor Swift on, which was really cool, important for us. Obviously, it brings a whole new group of people into our program and involved with our program and are familiar with it. And then we were able to do the reveal of our jersey this year, and they both had it on and got to talk about the Bearcats and all those good things. So the more they can just be a part of what we do, the better. And that goes so far right now because it's about eyeballs, it's about attention, and nobody's more popular than the Kelseys.
And we will see if Travis is in attendance at Arrowhead 9 days from this recording. Really excited about the football season and the 7 home games at Nippert Stadium. It is going to be great, and tickets are available, we should point out.
They are. Yep. We're getting close to a sellout in 1 or 2 games, but tickets are available for every game right now. And so jump on board Saturday with us and come have some fun. It's a great environment, great food, family-friendly environment. So bring your family out and watch the Bearcats. It's going to be a fun year. It's a tough league, but we've got a lot of talent coming back, and I'm really excited about it.
Can't wait. John, Gary, thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to Saturday at Nippert.